and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God will give. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if ticked somebody off or what. I did a show last night about the Aga Khan and all those connections, and after the show, I did a couple of posts on Facebook regarding the Muslim infestation that's taken place, and it was a little strange because I put a post up and then I was sharing the post and I got a note from somebody that it wasn't visible. Then I went back to my Facebook to take a look around, and my posts were disappearing. So apparently the folks at Facebook don't like what I'm posting. And today, I had everything up and running. Skype was running. I did my sound checks and everything. And the second I went to go into call into UCY, my Skype goes down. So I apologize for the lateness. I was here on time, but I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if I've been hacked or what's going on. But anyways, we're back, I think. I'm live. Okay, that's good. I appreciate somebody saying that. I don't have to go and buy that. See, I'm still running on XP, right? Because I don't want to get sucked into Windows 10. And XP's been really good to me over the years. And I don't know if XP's running out of time or I've just been hacked too many times or what the heck's going on. Maybe the Vatican's bothering me because according to my blog, CanadianTruths.wordpress.com, the Vatican is following all my updates. So I don't know if that's the real Vatican or some idiot or what, but been having considerably more problems lately than I wish to deal with. Anyways, I think today they're going to stick a little bit with this Jewish Muslim onslaught that is taking place upon our lands. And as I've been saying for a long time, make no mistake about it, this is a spiritual, psychological war. We are at war. The enemy is inside the gates. Now, the enemy's been inside the gates for an extremely long time. All of our countries signed on as member states of the United Nations. That means that our senators, our parliamentarians, our governors, our prime ministers, our presidents, our local councils are in fact the enemy. And that enemy is bringing in the foot soldiers. So you can look at our presidents and prime ministers as the generals, and you can go on down to the local levels and call them lieutenants or whatever you want to call them. But they're all working against us. They're all implementing the globalist UN corporate world government agendas. And there's a couple other agendas. One is the end of Christianity, because it stands in the way. King James Bible is in their way. And the Constitution of America is in their way. And they are destroying both of those as fast as they can, because they can't have what they want as long as those two things stand. So they took the Lord's Prayer out of the legislatures, out of the schools, and everywhere else. creates a vacuum, and they fill the vacuum with Islam and the Quran. And we are most definitely at war. Now, the Aga Khan has been around for a long, long time. And he set up the Aga Khan Development Network, which is basically the same as the Rockefeller Foundation, the United Nations. They work in the background. They're influence peddlers. Now, if you understand how your so-called government works, everyone that comes in there is new. You get a new premier, you get a new prime minister, you get a new president. They're new. They don't know what the hell's going on in there. The problem is the ones that actually run the show, the bureaucrats, the boards, the commissions, all these kind of things, they don't go away. They're there. And they're the experts. And they're the advisors of the governors and the premiers and the presidents and the prime ministers, and they guide them. They guide the policy. And the policy is what you see. Removal of your manufacturing, removal of your faiths, removal of your constitution. You're being taken down from the inside. Now, some people might think that's a little out there, but it's not. It's a fact. It's undeniable fact. And we are at war. Now, the worst part of this is that all you got to do is look around. And what we need to do right now is we need to get to the police and we need to get to the military. Because those people took their oath to serve the state. And the state is taking us down from the inside. And those that took their oath to the state believe that that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to uphold the, quote, law of the state. But the law of the state is international law now. And everybody who is in our legislatures and our senates and so on and so forth, and our education system and the religious system are all treasonous dogs. And if you look back, you'll see that the police actually are basically set up as Rockefeller thugs. If you go back to the Cold Wars and the Rockefellers, and they brought their thugs in to deal with the strike breakers, and you follow that, you will find that it was after that we got the huge increase in police presence. We didn't need a police presence before, right? People looked out for each other. But these police, they're there to look out for the corporations, just like Rockefeller strike breakers were there to look out for the corporation. And to beat down anybody that bucked the corporation. And this is exactly what we have now. All of our countries are corporations. And the police and the military take their oath to protect the state, not you. That's why you see over in Germany and Sweden and England and France, when the people try to push back against this Islamic influx, the police protect the Muslims. Because it's the state that's bringing them in. And the police protect the state. We need to get to these people. We need to get into their heads somehow. Okay? We need them to understand that the role they're playing is actually the enemy combatant role. Because if they're protecting the United Nations globalist corporate agendas, then they're slitting their own throats. If they're protecting this Muslim influx, which goal is to bring about Sharia law, which is to fill the legislatures and the senates and the councils with Muslims who write the law. The legislatures write the frickin' laws. They're not really laws, it's corporate law, but nonetheless, the legislatures write the law. And the plan is to fill it up. I mean, all you got to do is ask yourself some simple questions. How in the hell did a Muslim become the mayor of London, England? How in the hell did a Muslim become the mayor of Calgary, Alberta? How's that happen? They brought the Trojan horse inside. And it's unloading now. And his job is to take us down, and that is genocide. And it goes right back. I'm going to keep on repeating what that Native woman said to me that day when I asked her if she got the plan for Whitey. She nodded yes, and I said, how come you get it so easy? And Whitey's just talking to him like banging your head on the freaking wall. She said, it's simple. We lived through it. Now it's your turn. And that's exactly what's going on here. It has to be stopped. But how are we going to stop it? That's the question. It has to be stopped, but how do you stop it? You're not going to stop it with street fights. So how are we going to stop it? One, you're going to have to stand up and run for whatever you're going to run for. Get on the school boards. Run for your local council. Because that's how they're taking us down. They're not taking us down with guns. They're taking us down with psychology, propaganda, and a filling of the spiritual void, I suppose. And they're replacing the word, the law, that our nations were founded upon, and they're replacing it with Sharia law, which is not good for us. So we need to talk. We've got to forget about this nonsense, right, left, pile of garbage is all it is. It's just noise. Nothing but noise. And we have to become active. You know, I don't know how you rise people up in this day and age that have been so stupefied and made so weak of mind and spine, just like Brzezinski said. It'll take 2.5 to 3 generations to basically nullify the will of the people. I mean, I look way back. I don't even know what year that was when the Americans came up here and they burned down the legislature on the East Coast. They didn't have any warplanes, didn't have any cell phones, didn't have any computers, didn't have any radio, didn't have any TV. Yeah, when the Americans come up here and burn down the legislature on the East Coast, what did the people on the East Coast do? They marched their way down to Washington, burned down the damn White House. You could all call that old biblical shit, eye for an eye. You harm me, I'm going to harm your ass. And what's the law? Do no harm. So we're going to have to get to the military. We're going to have to get to the police. And we got to get these guys on side. The last thing we need is our own men and women beating us up. Well, they protect the state, which is taking us down. I don't know how the military or the police think they're going to get on the good end of this stick. So we got to get them on side somehow. We got to get active. That means we got to participate. Got to get control. If you know, there's an old saying, either you will affect politics or politics will affect you. Now, politics makes me want to puke. Because all these politicians are thieving from us. And they're worse than ticks on a dog's back, and we got to shake them off. But how are you going to shake them off? The only way we can shake them off is become active, and you are going to have to affect the politics. We got to do this before we can get back to law. We got to get a hold of the legal system. We have got to get control. Because if we can't get control, then we can't get back to law. And if we can't get back to law, we will never see freedom or peace. We've been turned into a bunch of whining, spineless, mindless fools. You better suck it up. Better get a hold of your bootstraps and yank on them. This is not a game. The plan is to take us down. The plan is to take all our resources. The plan is to drive us into high-density cities filled with every language on the frickin' planet. Beside a high-speed rail system where you don't own your own home. You just be corporate renters. You don't own your own vehicle anymore. They're driving you into a corner. And when do you push back? When you can't? Or you push back now where you still got some space? So as much as I dislike the political system, it's either going to affect us or we're going to affect it. They've been at this for centuries. And people got so late, oh, I just want it fixed. Or they try to do this to me, I'm going to do that. They don't work that way, folks. It does not work that way. You have to become active. And I don't care if you poster your neighborhood. I don't care if you stand on a soapbox in the local park. You got to get active. You know, you got to be like, what is this, Paul Revere, I think it was, that rolled through, the British are coming. If we sit here quietly and don't call it out, then it's going to beat us down. And the easiest way to stop it is stop it before it gets complete control, which again means you got to get active. I never seen anything more difficult in my life than try to get so-called patriots to stand up, put their frickin' $100 or $200 down on the table and say, I'm going to go get me a seat there. And when I get that seat, I'm going to shout from the frickin' rooftop. But it's too easy to get control. 3-1, that's the answer, 3-1. Get 3 people to run for every available seat at your local council. that gives you 3-to-1 your message over their message. Your message will drown out their message, and you will alert the people, and 1 out of each 3 of you will be voted in, and bingo, you got control because you have the majority vote in the council. Now we can start getting something done. This bullshit up. Well, I'm going to run away. Well, you just run away, you chicken shit asshole. You just take your go bag and you run up onto the hills and you sit there with your finger up your ass and call yourself a man. That ain't a man. That's a little boy. Little boy hiding under his covers trying to hide from the boogeyman. It's bullshit. Our forefathers knew how to man up. But the ticket is we don't need violence. All we need to do is go and get those seats. The seats of power. And from there, we can start to make changes. And you ain't going to do it overnight. But we got to get back to law. We can't get rid of this stupid corporate legal system of which you are just a fictional freaking entity of which they feed off of and make you surety for all their stupid expenditures, which just enslaves you for the entirety of your life. We got to get back to law. We got to take back control of the resources of our lands. And anybody that threatens it, well, we're going to have to either jail them or chuck them off the edge, off our borders, out of our countries. We have to purify the stink hole that's become our countries. And then we have to create real money again. Lawful money, not legal frickin' tender. We need to take the lawyers and we need to run them out. Maybe we could retrain them as street sweepers or something useful. If you look at history, even when the settlers first came to America, what did they do? They ran them damn lawyers out of there. What did Shakespeare say? First kill all the damn lawyers. These are thieving, manipulating, deceiving dogs from hell. And you ain't going to change nothing standing out there chucking rocks at the castle walls. They will just pick your ass off. This idea there's nothing we can do. I see this constantly. Oh, I guess we're screwed now. What kind of frickin' dumbass attitude is that? Well, nothing we can do about it. What, are you retarded? Yes, you are retarded because you went through the educational system, which specifically was designed to retard you and give you absolutely no useful information. In other words, hold you in these basically penal psychiatric wards throughout your youth and send you out with no usable knowledge other than being dependent upon the government and lining up like little idiots, sign here, sign there, sign here. We got to go get our lives back, people. We got to do that. And we got to start getting at it quick. Doesn't matter what you're involved in. Doesn't matter if you're a native North American. I didn't put your children into the residential schools. I didn't run you off your lands. The corporation did it. It wasn't the men and women that came here. They came here to get away from the tyranny that they were living under. It was the corporation. And it's a corporation today, only it's a global corporation now. It's running us off our lands. It's moving us out of the rural areas where they can more easily control us. You know, the natives that they, supposedly salted their blankets they traded with smallpox and that. And the alcohol they enticed the natives into taking. All foreign substances to them. Look what it did to them. Look what your government, look what the corporation's done to the people here. They fill their faces full of pharmaceuticals. They jam needles in their arms. They were the ones that brought the coke in. They were the ones that brought the ecstasy in. Just like they did to the natives. The genocide of the people of the Western nations is full on, man. It's coming at you. It's been coming at you forever. They've weakened the men and women down so badly. Do you know what they said on Fox News last night? Like I give a damn. Turn the frickin' thing off. Throw it out. Bury it. Burn it. Take a sledgehammer to it. Kill the damn thing. Go look up SCTV on the YouTube or whatever. The opening sequence to SCTV where they're all in their apartment buildings chucking their TVs out the window. And that's exactly what we need to do. Shut it down. How can anybody have an intelligent conversation when they're getting their information from CNN or Fox News or listen to these stupid-ass talk shows on the television set? You can't have an intelligent conversation with these people. These people do not have the capacity to have an intelligent conversation. And I know it's difficult for people to turn the TV off because it is an addiction. It's no different than a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction. It's a freaking addiction. People get up in the morning, they sit down to have breakfast, they turn the TV on in the kitchen. And then they wander around all day regurgitating the crap they heard on the TV when they had breakfast just to come home and turn it on when they eat supper so they got something to regurgitate that night. Throw them out. Burn them. There's nothing useful ever going to come out of that tube that's going to help you think or help you grow a new spine. It's there to weaken you, to get inside your head, to confuse you, to deceive you. And then I hear people, I got a new cable package. Shut up. Shut up. I got a new 60-inch screen. Shut up. I don't want to hear about it. A lot of those people we can't help. They're too far gone. But as those that are trying to take us down know, it doesn't take the whole population. It takes a very small number. I mean, the magic number really is 10%. And I would think in America and Canada and Australia at this point in time, we don't have 0.01% of the population that is getting strong enough to beat this back. So we got our work cut out for us, and we better get it done, or it's going to get damn ugly. Why wait for the ugliness? Why not nip it in the bud? The longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to bust it out of here. If we do not have the capacity to stand up for the work that our forefathers did, then we ain't got much. It'd be difficult to call ourselves men. You know, maybe we might as well just be what they call us, and that's humans. We'll just be the animals that they got corralled and herd. These are the people playing God, because God gave man dominion over the animals, and a human, by definition, is an animal. According to the Jews and the Muslims, we are animals. We better revert ourselves back to being men. There's not too many animals out there that can defend themselves against man. So we're going to have to become men again. And we're going to have to get back to law. There is no hope for humans run by the legal system. There's no hope. The only hope we got is being men in law. And if we can't get our brains there, if we can't get our minds over that position, then we're lost. And we will lose. It's like we're being run over by the Mongols, man. Anyways, I'm going to try to find this. I'm going to read this first, a little bit of this. And I don't even know, by Mac Dominic, chapter 13. I don't know where I got this. I don't know what it's from. But there's a big deal here. Okay, there's a good there's that damn Rockefeller Foundation again. Basically how they manage the churches. There's the Luce Foundation, the Lutheran Theological Seminary. There's a lot of stuff. This is a long freaking thing. Man, oh man, I don't know where this came from. But we're just going to go through a little wee bit of it. It's called Outcome-Based Religion, Purpose-Driven Apostasy by Mac Dominic, chapter 13, Living in the Time of the Paradigm Shift. Defining the paradigm shift. What is a paradigm shift? Better yet, what is a paradigm? The terminology of paradigm shift was coined by Thomas Kuhn in 1962 book, The Structure, I can't see that, is the Structure of Scientific Revolutions. And according to Marilyn Ferguson, Kuhn's ideas increase understanding of the emergence of new perspectives and analyze the cause of resistance to new systematic changes. Marilyn Ferguson herself then relates to Kuhn's definition of the word paradigm as follows: a framework of thought from the Greek pattern. A paradigm is a scheme for understanding and explaining certain aspects of reality. A paradigm shift is a distinctly new way of thinking about old problems. I'm just reading this because I don't care if you consider yourself a Christian or you have faith or whatever. I really don't care. You got one of two choices. Okay, you're either a man or an animal. That's it. You either believe that somehow, some way, and I mean, both of them are a little tough to grasp when you think about it. I mean, here we are, we have two choices. We are either men, okay, who were created by our Creator and given dominion over the earth, or we're animals that somehow mysteriously over some billions and billions of years, that's the fantasy of scientists, but somehow, some way, there was a big bang of some sort, and then an amoeba or something was created, and from that one single cell, everything you see on this planet evolved from. That's a bit of a stretch. And of course, the scientist has nothing whatsoever to back it up. Absolutely nothing. But then they did kill God in the mid-19th century with the onslaught of Darwinism, and made the scientist the new priest. So you're supposed to believe and not question the scientist, just like you were supposed to believe the priest and not question them. Both are deceivers. Both are trying to enslave man. But it's through lies and deception that we get the Big Bang. On the other side, God created the heavens and the earth and gave man dominion. And we've allowed ourselves to be deceived and turned into humans, animals. Something that somehow evolved from great apes. And then the question is, if we evolved from great apes, then why are there apes? Why are there monkeys? If we evolved from that, then they don't exist. So this is about the paradigm shift. The context of Ms. Ferguson's remarks taken from her infamous book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, published in 1980. This book became known as the New Age Bible and is framed with a pantheistic worldview that dictates that all is God. Mrs. Ferguson has become very well known as a consummate New Ager. And this is what it's about. I remember I was, I don't know how old I would have been, 12 maybe 13, when that song came out, this is the age of Aquarius. That's how long this crap's been being shoved down our throats. It is within the framework of that new age, of that new paradigm church and outcome-based religion has emerged. The new paradigm church has reassessed Bible-based Christianity and developed a new way of thinking about it. Thinking about the old principles of the Word of God, the initial reaction to these new methods discussed to this point in this manuscript can be candidly summarized as a departure from the old paths of the Word of God. As I remember, Shirley MacLaine was in a movie, I don't know what the hell it was called, I don't watch too many movies, but she's standing on a beach with some guy and he's telling her that she's God. And she's kind of, huh? Say it. I am God. So she starts off quietly. I am God. Not too sure about this. She keeps being prodded to say it louder and louder and louder till she's screaming it up, arms up, I am God. No, you're not. You're an idiot. You're an idiot who has been suckered into this nonsense. The departure calls into question critical concept of Bible doctrine, the fact that God himself is immutable. He does not change. God does not adapt to new postmodern cultures. So why should those who claim to his followers that God has never developed a new way of thinking? So why should his children adopt such mythologies? If God's word is inspired, infallible, and inerrant, why should God's children believe that they need to develop a new mindset when they in reality possess the old story? In essence, the departure can be termed as apostasy, but the biblical term is infidelity. Okay, so now they've taken the King James Bible or the Lord's Prayer out of everywhere, which creates a vacuum, which is going to be filled, the plan is to fill it with the Quran and Islam and Sharia law, and that makes what? Us, the infidels. This is a war, folks. Spiritual, psychological war. The rise of the spiritual infidelity within the new paradigm church is just another example of mankind's failure to learn from the lessons taught in the Old Testament scriptures. The Old Testament explicitly records the spiritual infidelity of the nation of Israel that resulted from a moving away from God to the worship of the false gods and the Canaanites culture. The new paradigm church mimics these old oft-condemned actions by moving away from biblical mythology or methodology and standards in order to embrace today's postmodern culture. Therefore, the emphasis of the new paradigm, outcome-based religion, can be summarized as a transition from these old ways outlined in and dictated by the Word of God to the new ways detailed in postmodern philosophy. Now, I get a lot of crap from people when I call out Israel. The fact of the matter is, these people that create this paradigm shift are the guys that created the UN. They are the guys that created the Depressions. They are the guys who created World War I. They are the guys who created the Fed. They are the ones who created the League of Nations, and finally, after 2 world wars and hundreds of millions of dead innocent people, managed to create the United Nations and Israel. And I get a lot of flack about this. You know, people go, well, yeah, the UN sucks, but Israel, you can't talk down Israel. Excuse me? Israel is an extremely evil entity, as is the United Nations and all those who create it and all those who support it, as they push the new paradigm down our throats. But they didn't just push it down our throats. It is the process of transitioning, that is deemed a paradigm shift, and such a paradigm shift is occurring right before our eyes. And yes, that's a fact. Right before our eyes, yet very few can see it. The shift in consciousness has not been triggered by some catalytic event, but is taking place in baby steps, one small step at a time, generationally. These are long-term planners. They know what they want, and they're pretty sure they know how to get it. By continually weakening your mind, withholding knowledge from you, propagandizing you, and normalizing things that were not normal. And they do it slowly. Because if they don't do it slowly, you're going to push back because it's not normal. But they normalize everything slowly. In spite of the piecemeal implementation, the transition is not occurring without opposition, for many voices within the fundamental and even evangelical circles are crying out to sound the alarm. However, the numbers of the new movement are swelling as a tidal wave that will potentially drown these voices by the dawn of the next generation. For as stated by physicist Max Planck, a new scientific truth, this is a quote, a new scientific truth, in brackets, or lied, does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die. A new generation grows up that is familiar with it. To interpret this remark in a biblical context, one can certainly add as an example, and there arose another generation that know not the Lord, nor yet the works he has done. And this is exactly, I did a talk, I don't know, 6 years ago or something. It was supposed to be a talk about the fraud of renewable energy and windmills that were irritating the hell out of everybody. And I don't know why. I have no idea why that came out of my mouth. But I basically explained coming out of the gates that this was a spiritual war, that this is about earth worship. They're using the Muslims to crush the Christians. And then the Muslims will be done away with because both are professing that they follow the word of God. One is God and one is Muhammad. But this is not what the paradigm shift is about. The paradigm shift is about everybody worshiping the earth, not the creator, the earth. It's just paganism, which is Satanism. The paradigm shift that enables a transition from the past to the future, from old structure to new and old beliefs to new, falls on the ears as echoes of the principles touted by progressive educators for almost 3/4 of a century. As parallels found in the methodologies of the new paradigm church and outcome-based education have been referenced numerous times over the course of this manuscript, one must remember the most fundamental of all similarities is the core objective of both methods, or both movements, transition. As with outcome-based religion, outcome-based education has its core objective a complete transition of the old to the new. The chart pictured below was taken from a report issued to the South Carolina Department of Education proposing an OBE plan for the state schools. It very succinctly illustrates the basic tenets of the OBE to transition the student to a new paradigm. Anyways, when I was given that talk about 6 years ago, I also came up with a quote that supposedly came from Hitler. And supposedly a guy in his 50s or whatever says to Hitler, "I can't come on your side." And just like this paradigm shift said, that generations will die off. And Hitler supposedly says to this guy in his 50s, you don't matter. okay? Because you will pass. And once you have passed, all the children will know is the state. And if we don't stand up now and we don't get our act together, of course we will pass. We all pass. But what are we leaving behind? What kind of world are we going to leave behind? It ain't going to be good. You know we've been weakened. We know we're spiritually broken. You know our minds are not functioning as they should. Why would we allow ourselves to be poisoned by the food we eat? Why would we allow these nutcases to jam the children's arms full of poisons? Why would we allow our water systems to be poisoned? Why would we allow these planes to be flying over us? I mean, if there's one thing that shows, and all these pharmaceuticals that are being jammed down people's throats, why would we allow that? You know, our environment is completely poisoned. But we didn't poison it. We accepted the poison. We didn't tell them to shove off with the poison. Because everything they sell us is supposedly for our health, our benefit, our safety. When in fact, everything they're pushing at us is exactly opposite to what they say they're pushing it at us for. We never stand up to it. Where are you going to get real food? You know, I had a guy, we're renovating that commercial building, and it's a big variety store, and a bread guy comes in. I've known him for some period of time just because he shows up in different stores bringing his bread. And he's concerned because he got into this 10-year plan of bread and whatever distribution. And he's noticing that the bread numbers are going down. People aren't buying as much bread. And he can't understand it. He says there's something going on. Well, it ain't that the population's dropping, is it? The consumption of bread is dropping because the staff of bread is the staff of life. Yet people are increasingly becoming afraid to eat bread. Because by this time, I'm sure everybody knows somebody that's gluten intolerant. Well, how can you be intolerant to the staff of life? The poisons that they're spraying on the wheat is rotting the guts of the men and the women and the children. That's why your bread sales are going down. People are becoming afraid of their very food that is supposed to sustain them. And yet people just go, oh, well, you know, Sammy's gluten intolerant, and with no other thought process, like it's normal. Nothing normal about it. I can't drink milk because I'm lactose intolerant. Really? How about your pasteurization intolerant? Our food is completely and totally adulterated. Yeah, we just keep shoving it down our faces. And then when we get ill from the food that's supposed to sustain us, we go to the doctor who gives us some pills. Then we go down to the pharmacy with our little note from the doctor, and we eat the pills. Chances are when you're eating the pills, you're going to get a bad reaction of some sort or another, of which they will give you a pill to counteract the bad reaction. Now, the food you're eating is poison. Some of these pills you take cover up the effects of the poison that you're consuming so that you don't notice you're being poisoned. You don't have the irritation and the aggravation and the uncomfortableness that you do from being poisoned. So you say, oh, these pills really work good. My gut don't feel so bad now, as you continue to dump the poisons into your system. God, we're a stupid bunch. This document, it says, is hard evidence of the desire to impact a complete systematic change in the attitudes and values of the students in order to prepare him or her for perceived future. The technical term for this is transformational OBE, as touted by OBE marketer William Spady. The process implemented to achieve the transition is based on the establishment of a series of objectives or outcomes to be achieved via a cooperative effort group dynamics by a series of small groups or teams of students with the teacher or change agent functioning as the facilitator. Now, this is what I just read there is the consensus rooms. Okay, and I've been to tons of these meetings. You have the facilitator, you have the small tables, groups of 3 or 4, and the facilitator wants their input, not really, but wants them to feel as if they are participating and they're important and their input is important. Their input is not the least bit important because the decision's already been made. The final outcome has already been decided. The facilitator, this goes on to say, does not teach the small group, but rather influences the group to reach a predetermined consensus by introducing effective or emotional situations in conflict with the cognitive concepts to achieve the specified outcome. The dialectical process of group dynamics is replaced in the outcome-based religion by those who would achieve the church growth outcomes by the creation of the so-called meta-church comprised of small groups that can be facilitated by pragmatic means in the status of the megachurch. Now, I think I put that in the chat last week. I'll try and find it again. The other document, which, I know where that is. It's on my blog. You can go to my blog, canadiantruths.wordpress.com, and I think it's the last one I did. I reposted it. I think I first posted in 2008 and lost track of the darn thing. And then I found somebody had been reading it, and I want to thank whoever was reading it because I didn't know where to find it anymore. Very important document on exactly how the churches are involved in this paradigm shift. Hooked up with the Al Gores and the Robert Muellers and the UNESCO and the United Nations and so on and so forth. So since the OBE and outcome-based religions share what appears to be disproportionate number of similarities, one must question the origin of these principles and seek a common source of such similarities or else consign them to pure coincidence. However, there exists no coincidence because the source of these commonalities can be readily discovered, and the quest begins by looking into the lives of 2 men, Edwards Deming and Peter Drucker. Deming, now deceased, and Drucker in his mid-90s, are enshrined as internationally renowned experts in business management and gurus of business mythology. And I'm sure we can hook both of these guys to the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, United Nations, and so on and so forth, and maybe even the Aga Khan. These two individuals were among the primary players in a select group of Americans. Though Drucker is a U.S. citizen, he is actually Austrian, who are lauded as part of the utmost superhuman effort that developed systems-based management philosophies that first gained public recognition in post-World War II Japan. The popular story is told of the Americans who developed a cutting-edge business methodology that was rejected by Western business but eagerly embraced by the Japanese. When these philosophies were put into practice by the Japanese, their defeated country rose as the mythological phoenix from the death, devastation, demoralization, and destruction of a defeated country to become a leading industrial giant in little more than a decade. You know, if I stop here for a minute, if you look at Japan, it's a very tiny little place. Very tiny indeed. It's got like 110 million people. And you could take Japan and drop it from a plane, I suppose, into America or into Canada or into Australia. And, well, probably wouldn't see it for a long time. So somebody tripped over the damn thing. What I'm trying to say is that we do not have large populations here. The United States is a little over 300 million people. China, I think, is 1.2 or 3 billion people. The United States is just a shy smaller than China, very close in size. The weather is pretty much the same. We have no shortage of resources. Canada, second largest landmass, population less than California. And you could drop California into the province of British Columbia, not likely find it for a long time. So we in North America have all of the resources that all of our people will ever need to house, clothe, manufacture our stuff. We don't need the rest of the world. What they've done is they've made the world interdependent. Nobody builds a car. Probably stuff same goes for a refrigerator. You have all these different countries building a particular piece or a few pieces for the vehicle, and then they're assembled somewhere. Meaning that no country can be independent. We're interdependent. And that's not by mistake. That's all part of this paradigm shift. Now, if we're not independent enough to produce our own automobiles and our own appliances and that, then we're not really much of a nation, are we? You know, I'm going to do my old fridge story. I got a 1950 some, I don't have it now. It's my brother-in-law's garage right now. And he has a 72 Challenger in the garage with a cover over for the winter, and proudly standing close by is a 1950 some odd McClary refrigerator. A refrigerator built in the 50s, and I got it in probably 81, and used it at different places. And I used it for a beer fridge out at the cottage, and then I went to my other brother-in-law's for a beer fridge, and now my other brother-in-law has it as a beer fridge, and nobody has ever turned a wrench on it. I never touched it. I never fixed it. My next brother-in-law never fixed it, and the brother-in-law now has never fixed it. And they all said it was very energy efficient. Very thick door and sides on it, very insulated. Very old technology, really. And that sucker has been humming along since the 1950s. Now, you know, they keep telling us that we need to stop digging holes in the earth because we're hurting Mother Earth and that. We need to not buy things. We need not to consume things. But the fact of the matter is, if you look back of what we used to produce, washing machines now and dryers and that last on average of about 7 years. They used to last 30 years. So these people that are pushing this new earth-saving nonsense at us were serious, then if we could build a refrigerator that run fine from 1956, I think it is, which makes it, how old's that fridge now? It'll make it a 60-year-old fridge. That fridge is 60 frickin' years old. And still humming along. It's the same as a light bulb. They made the first incandescent light bulbs didn't burn out. There's a light bulb someplace it's like 100 frickin' years old or something. It's still humming along. No profit in that. So you build products that only last a short period of time. Well, what are you doing? You're using up the resource. Why are you doing that for? Well, profit. For who? The corporation. So you keep working, you keep buying this stuff over and over and over again when we have the capacity to build these things that will last decades. We can only do that if we have control of our nations. We can only do that if we have control of our resources. If nobody wants to trade with us, tough luck. Because there is nothing that we cannot build, grow, engineer, manufacture for the needs of our people. This idea of looking at the government for help is what I call the wife abuse syndrome. You're being abused by these corporations, i.e. your government, who's stealing from you constantly. And then when they really put the hurt on you, then you run to them for help. That's really sick. You don't go to your abuser looking for help. You get rid of your abuser. And that's what we have to do, which means we got to get back to law. Well, this story about the Japanese is partially true. The reality is that Denning's approach is primarily based on process and continual process improvement, and Ducker's management by objective is purely outcome-based. However, though the approach of these methodologies originate from a different source point, Ducker's outcome-based philosophies back map into the very process principles incorporated by Denning. For example, Drucker's theme of building community with knowledge workers equates precisely to Denning's quest to implement a team spirit in order to cultivate corporate loyalty and a shared identity. In essence, Denning is less outcome-based, but Drucker incorporates processes that mimic or are identical to those proposed by Denning to achieve the predetermined outcome. Therefore, the quest must continue for common origin of these methods, for the philosophical commonalities are far too obvious to be coincidental. The quest, however, will lead one to the darker side of business management. Ducker's management by objective was not an original idea, but rather emanated from within the ranks of the 19th century esoteric Germanic philosophy. The outcome-based systematic concepts can be traced directly to the teachings of Hegel, Marx, Nietzsche, and Blavatsky, and others who were heavily influenced by Germanic paganism. In turn, these principles were then adapted by Fabian socialists in the early 20th century and easily communicated to the likes of John Dewey, the father of the progressive education, thus the origin of OEB. Disturbingly, a deeper look into the basic tenets of this system reveals far darker, more esoteric undercurrents. This is no secret even to secular business sources that have the courage to make an honest evaluation of the system. For instance, in an article in the Journal of Organizational Change Management, David M. Boyge and Robert D. Windsor addressed total quality management, the lodestone of the Dunning-Drucker mythology. The thesis of this article is that as an economic phenomenon, total quality management has been positioned as carefully engineered, or as a carefully engineered set of technological processes, modifications which purport to lead to enhanced level of productive or product quality or lower cost, and therefore provide the ability to achieve and sustain a global competitive advantage. To achieve these spoils, however, TQM directly and covertly alters the values, culture, and mindsets within the organization. As a result, and parallel to these technological modifications, TQM establishes a carefully integrated program of social and psychological engineering, which is critical to the successful implementation of TQM, and which has a significant impact on the behavior and consciousness of both managers and workers. Again, we're in a psychological, spiritual war. And we're going to leave that there. This is one I'm not a quarter of the way through this. This is long, but everybody ought to read it. I may have read this before. But it's important that we understand what the hell's going on. You know, when I was reading that about Japan there, and there was the same thing with Walmart. They were telling the American worker that you got to be, and the Canadian worker, and I'm sure the Australian, British worker, that you got to be more competitive. You have to work harder. You have to work smarter. And they show the films of the Japanese workers out there doing calisthenics and singing a corporate song before work started. And this is the kind of stuff that they tried to bring here. Walmart is a good example of it, but even that's gone to soft. But at the same time, they were telling us how to be more competitive. It was the same time frame they were hauling all of our manufacturing out of here. And the manufacturers were looking for exactly what's described in here. And they found those in the East. So they took their businesses and they went east. Because a corporation does not care about a man, a woman, or a child. They care about bottom line. They only have one thing. Their food source is money. The only thing that'll keep a corporation alive is money. And therefore, it is impossible to give a damn about a man, woman, or a child. They use the man, woman, and child to make money. They indoctrinate them so that the corporation can make money. And your country is a corporation. And they take your money. So you labor all your lives for the benefit of who? A dead, fictional entity known as a corporation. And that really, truly sucks. Anyways, I'm going to throw this into the chat. You can read through it or not. Your call, not mine. I hope some people read it. I hope some people bring some stuff up about it in a future show. This stuff is important to understand. All the rest of this stuff out there that people really seem to be interested in, like this right-left paradigm thing, this Trump's going to save us thing. It's all just noise. Everything's going on in the background, not on your face. That's window dressing. That's entertainment. That's noise. Yes, yes, this is true. This is something in the chat here. Some natives in Canada claim that Queen Liz kidnapped some of their children decades ago. Yes, I've heard that and I've seen it. I don't have any proof of it. Would it be possible? Absolutely. You see, because we are looked at as things. Okay, we're not looked at as men and women and children of flesh and blood. We're corporate things. We're things that they created. So for them to kidnap some children decades ago, well, understand the Queen has kidnapped every child in this nation. There is no child in this nation that was not kidnapped. You've been kidnapped. I've been kidnapped. And you were kidnapped shortly after you were born. When the corporation came to your mother and offered benefits if you would register your child to the state, didn't explain what this entailed at all, did not give any kind of disclosure, but that if you registered your child to the state, then you would have benefits for your child, like free education and free, whatever you call that, child benefits, baby bonus check when I was a kid, and so on and so forth, medical. And this sounded pretty damn good because, my mother and father grew up in the Depression, or just after my dad grew up in the Depression, mom through the war, and so on and so forth. There was a lot of hardship. So after that, when they started offering something for free that the government cared, it wasn't a big leap for them. Like, if I don't sign the registration, if I don't register my child, you're saying they don't get a baby bonus check? Nope. And they don't get education? Nope. And they don't get to go to the hospital? Nope. Well, they registered the child. They plagiarized the name, turned it into a legal entity, a financial instrument, of which you've been ever since. And the word plagiarize is very specific. Plagiarism is very specific. It is a seduction. It says that. That's what they did to your mothers. They seduced them. They lied to them. They deceived them. It says it's a kidnapping. It's very specific there. It is a kidnapping or theft, which is what plagiarism is, theft of a child or a slave. So did the Queen kidnap the children? Every child in this country's been kidnapped and used as surety when they grow up for the debt of the corporation. And people still stand up and sing the frickin' anthems. They're corporate anthems. And it breaks my heart when the slaves are singing an anthem to the plantation owners. That hurts. But most people still don't realize that. Oh, Canada, our home and corporate lands. We stand on guard for thee and pay all the debt that you amass upon us. Because we just don't get it yet. Oh, Canada. And I find that difficult because I was, up until a certain time, an extremely proud Canadian. I'm just a pissed off man now. And all the men and women in these lands should be pissed off as well. We've been hoodwinked. We've been lied to since the day we were frickin' born. And if that don't piss you off, I don't know what possibly could. Ho can't. Yeah, maybe the queen's a hoe. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that we've been enslaved. We're subjects. A citizen is the same definition of subject. And, we are subjected to the rules and regulations of the corporation. And if we break the rules and the regulations of the corporation, then we're dragged before the administrator of the corporation, call it a judge or a justice. And he looks down his or her nose at us and tries to decide what to do with us. It was a slap on the wrist. Normally just take some of your labor from you. There's a penalty for not being a good little boy or girl of the corporation. And that's taught to the children at the earliest age in school, that if you break the rules and regulations, well, you're going to have to go have some quiet time or stand in the corner or be ostracized in some other way. And then when we supposedly become of age and they're supposed to be men, this has been indoctrinated into us so deeply that we run around being afraid to break a rule or a regulation of the corporation in case we may be ostracized again, or told to stand in the corner, or told to put our hand in our back pocket and pull out some of our labor and hand it over to the administrator to appease them for the naughtiness that we did. It's really quite a sick system. And we're going to have to bust it. I see a thing here, bend over Canucks. There's not just the Canucks that are bent over. The whole frickin' world is bent over. The Pope and the kings and the queen have been giving it to us from behind for a very, very long, long time. Either you're numb to it, you enjoy it, or you are going to do something about it. It's time. It is absolutely time. The solutions are actually quite simple. Get involved. Get involved. And it's not difficult. Go make a flyer, stick it on people's windshields, put it on the bus stop. If we don't hold their feet to the fire, if we don't stand up and get involved in running in councils, and I don't know why people are afraid of this. Well, I wouldn't know how to do it. Well, I don't know. It's pretty simple, isn't it? It's $100 to $200. You put it down on the table, and you fill out a form and go. What's bothering people? Their taxes, their high cost of energy, their high cost of water, the education system, so on and so forth. I mean, there's no shortage of subjects or issues. And you go and you sit at a table and people come and they ask questions and you answer their questions and you tell them the truth and you explain why these other candidates are not telling them the truth. But if you just run by yourself and there's 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 other candidates running, and they're all part and parcel of the evil that's trying to take us down, then you're going to have a hard time overcoming their message. That's why I say you got to run 3 to 1. That's how you get people on side. And then you take control. And the first thing you do as a council with control is dump the CAO or the city manager. Get them the hell out of there. Because they are specifically trained in how to take down your community without the community's knowledge. Every CAO and every city manager would have been, in the old days, taken out and hung by a rope. Now, we don't do that these days, apparently, and I don't recommend it. I like to think that when Shakespeare said, first kill all lawyers, that was metaphoric, and it's the same thing. We have to nullify them. We have to nullify their power, and you don't have to kill them to do that. Now, there you go. A Monty Python skit. I don't know if I still have that. If I do got it, I had a friend of mine send me this yesterday. I think if I can find it here. And let's see, did he send it? No, he didn't. Or did he? Anyways, it was maybe somebody can dig it out. Is a Monty Python skit. Maybe send it the day before. Who knows? Days fly by here pretty quick. I'll just back up a little bit and see if I can find it. No, he didn't send it. Anyways, it's a Monty Python skit talking about this, transgendered shit. And I think it's I Want to Be a Girl or something. And so it's an old Monty Python skit, and they're talking about, the power of men and women don't have power, and they're talking about equal rights and that, and then all of a sudden one of the characters goes, I want to be a girl or a woman or whatever, right? And they're going, huh? I want to have a baby, right? And I mean, that's an old skit. And people laughed at that skit because it was so totally ludicrous. But today we have in women's magazines, on the front pages of magazines, we don't have women there anymore. We have transgendered screw-ups, mentally deranged people on the covers. And this was supposed to be a funny skit from the 70s. So yeah, it is like a Monty Python skit, really, if you want to go there. This is how ludicrous things are. But the thing about entertainment in that, you see, it's all fiction. We, unfortunately, are dealing with this in reality. And we have to change the reality. Because the reality that they've got us in now is taking us down. Now, here's a little bit of stuff. I'm going to throw some of these in. This is Ishmael, which is Mali Muslims, which the Aga Khan is. Now, it's got I'm apostrophe I, and it has I don't know what that is, a little face, some kind of a little thing above the I. And there's 20,000 plus strong archive here, so there's lots of stuff to look at, but the Aga Khan was a friend of Pierre Trudeau's and Morris Strong and Rockefeller and so on and so forth. But here we have the Premier of Ontario, the dyke lesbian Kathleen Wynne with the Aga Khan. We have the Prime Minister went down, spent the holidays with the Aga Khan, came back and reshuffled the deck of his cabinet, and went from drunken ex-Toronto Bank guy as Minister of Immigration to all of a sudden we have an Ismaili or Somali Muslim as Minister of Immigration. Isn't that handy? So, Trudeau went down there, spent a week or whatever with this guy, and all of a sudden he's back and implementing, changing his cabinet and putting as Minister of Immigration a Muslim. How's that going to work out for you? And this is going on everywhere. Here's a nice picture of Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister's, not our Prime Minister, it's the Queen's Prime Minister. We don't have a Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the Prime Minister for the Queen. It's the Queen's Prime Minister. It's not our Prime Minister. That's the rub, man. I don't know why people can't get their head wrapped around this stuff. But, here's a nice picture of Pierre Trudeau, Justin, Tinkerbell's dad, with the Aga Khan, who's hooked up with the Rockefellers, who's hooked up with the Strongs, who's hooked up with the United Nations, and now we have the onslaught. Here we have this is what kills me about the right-left. Here we have a nice picture of Prime Minister Harper listening attentively to the Aga Khan as he strengthened ties with Canada. And I think it was Harper that made him a honorary Canadian citizen. So this idea that the right is trying to save our nations from the left couldn't be further from the truth. And here's a selection of photographs, videos of His Highness, the Aga Khan, and it was Queen Elizabeth who gave him the title of His Highness, with U.S. presidents and Canadian prime ministers, from John F. Kennedy to Pierre Trudeau to Stephen Harper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the point with John F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy apparently rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And this takeover has been in the go for a long, long time. Then this Aga Khan here, you would think he would be speaking up about the bombing of all his nations, but all they do with the Aga Khan network is exactly the same thing the Rockefeller Foundation does, the very same thing the United Nations does. I don't hear him screaming at the West about why you bombing all my people. No, he's hanging out here. He's sitting with Ronald Reagan, and then you got all these white guys, I guess Reagan's boys, sitting around attentively listening to everything the Aga Khan has to say. Did John F. Kennedy basically tell the Aga Khan to go take a flying leap? Is that one of the reasons he was shot? Who knows? But this has been going on a long, long time. You weren't taught this crap in school. Adrienne Clarkson, who basically is Chinese, I think, Asian anyways, she was a newscaster and then became the Governor General, offers insights on how immigrants overcome trauma in Room for Us All. For New Refugee Canada, smells of safety. Yes, sirree, Bob. Why the world needs more Canada. Muslim leader His Highness Aga Khan gives us high remarks in a new book. Doug Sutherland suggests talking to Aga Khan, key to solving world problems. Aga Khan's adoring message to Canada, Uganda's journey through CBC ranks, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. Statement from the Honorable Stéphane Dion, leader of the official opposition on the Golden Jubilee of the Aga Khan, which is kind of funny because Tinkerbell Justin Trudeau went down there and spent some time with the Aga Khan and came back and booted Dion out of his cabinet position, which it just says that that Dion has played his role as a useful idiot as far as they have use for, and time to dump his ass out of there. And so maybe Dion will wake up eventually, but I doubt it. The Aga Khan is a spiritual leader for 15 million Ismaili Muslims, one of which is the mayor of Calgary, Alberta. So I'm going to put this in, and you need to look at it and see what you got. And there's some good stuff in there, of which needs to be brought forward. Now, if I can find the other one I'm looking for here. I had a bunch of these open last night. If I can find, there's some history. Oh, here we go. Our partners. Now, I did this last night. I don't know if anybody's listening to the show that's on here today, listened to the show last night, but this is important. The Aga Khan Development Network. They're partners. I think there's 100 countries or somewhere around there, a pile of them anyways. And this is some of the institutions that are partnered with the Aga Khan, who is the spiritual leader of 15 million Muslims. And these people promote the work of Islam and the Aga Khan to institute it into our societies. And the list is pretty impressive. You know, we have the Concordia University Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development, the Dundee Wealth Management Group, Dalhousie University, Focus Humanitarian Assistance Canada, Global Affairs Canada, Hospital for Sick Children, the Globe and Mail, International Development Research Center, McGill University, which is where Brzezinski came from, saying it would take 2.5 to 3 generations to screw us up so badly mentally and spiritually that we wouldn't be able to put up any resistance. Of course, we have MasterCard Foundation, the Mount St. Vincent University, Northwest Capital Management, Inc., Seneca College, Scotiabank, University of Alberta, which might give you an idea of why we have a Muslim mayor in Calgary. One of his boys, actually, because he's a Ismaili Muslim. University of British Columbia, University of Calgary, University of Fraser Valley, University of Toronto, University of Victoria, and the Wild Rose Foundation of Alberta. Now, I'm just going to click on this one for a second because the Wild Rose Foundation of Alberta, I think, is the foundation that's supposed to be using all this oil money for the benefit of the people of Alberta. So here we have non-profit grants, apply for grants, non-profit management, bylaws, government college grants, federal housing grants, insurance for small business, non-profit management, government grants, free money. Government grants, free money. We should all put in for that one. So this is the Wild Rose Foundation, and you can look at that. I'm not going to stick that into the chat. It's in the list here. And now we have the Wild Rose Party, I think it's called, in Alberta, which wants to save Alberta from all the NDP nonsense that's going on, which isn't NDP nonsense at all. It's Aga Khan nonsense, Rockefeller nonsense, UN nonsense, Rothschild nonsense. These are just the puppets. And for the American listeners, and I mean, this has got Europe, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, India, everybody's in here, Japan, Kenya, Kazakhstan, a republic I never even knew existed, the KYGYZ Republic. I don't even know how to pronounce that. is involved in this. Malaysia, Mali, Mozambique. And then we have multilateral stuff. And there's connections to the United Nations. We have the African Development Bank. This is all UN crap. The Asian Development Bank, Bank of Africa, UNAID, East African Development Bank. These are basically outfits of where your tax dollars go, and then it's just distributed out through these agencies to bring the foot soldiers to destroy your nation. So we're paying for our own freaking demise. We've got to be stupid or something. The East African Development Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Commission, European Investment Bank, UN Food and Agriculture, International Atomic Energy, International Development Association, International Development Corporation, International Finance Corporation, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, the World Bank, UN Education Scientific, UNESCO, UNICEF, United Nations Development Program, UNDP, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Ooh. And we all signed agreements to accept all the migrants they could produce because, well, we're member states of the UN. The World Food Program and the World Health Organization. This is where the depopulation through poison food and vaccines tends to come from. And what do we got? I got 2 minutes here maybe. United Kingdom, USA. I mean, this is brilliant. These are all partners with the Aga Khan, who's a spiritual leader of 15 million Muslims, is what they're putting into our legislatures and our local councils and as mayors and so on and so forth. It's freaking brilliant. Now we got one of them who's the immigration minister. How sweet this is. We have ABB Inc. Equity Ventures, Andrew Mellon Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, of course, Catholic Relief, Synergy Global Power, Citigroup, Hilton Foundation, the Flora Family Foundation, Focus Humanitarian Assistance USA, the Ford Foundation, the Getty Grant Program, Harvard University, Hewlett Foundation, International Foundation for Science, John Deere, Johns Hopkins University, Johnson & Johnson, MacArthur Foundation, the Cargill Foundation, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Microsoft, NetAid, Office for Foreign Disaster Assistance, the Rockefeller Foundation, the SINCE Global Smithsonian Institute, United States Agency for International Development, United States Department of Agriculture, United States Department of State, United States Environment Protection Agency, World Planet Foundation, World AIDS Foundation, and World Monuments Fund. These are all partners helping to bring in the Muslims. Brilliant stuff. Anyways, I'll put this in the chat as well. Please take a look at it. I think you will find it a little eye-opening. Which you should, and but the fact of the matter is that the fact is you need to check this stuff out, and I'll leave you with the simple thought: we are at war. The war has been brought to our shores. The war for us is not in Afghanistan. It is not in Syria. It is not in Iraq. It is not in Iran or anywhere else on the planet. The war is taking place on our land now. And we're going to have to come to terms with this. And we're going to have to start dealing with it. And I do believe that we got to get in the heads of the police and the military. We need them on our side, not the corporation's side. We have to explain to them that remove your title and you're a man, probably with a wife and children and a mortgage like everybody else. And you need to get on the right side of this fight. Anyways, we're about out of time. I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope I didn't rattle on too much, but I got to get this crap out of here and off my chest and into your head as best I can. And I'm getting beat up over here on Facebook now, and they're ditching my posts about as fast as I can put them up there, which is a good sign, I guess. It's poking somebody in the eye. Hal's up here at 3:00 behind the woodshed. Love the show. I love his voice. He got such a great voice. But remember, we were born here. These are our lands. We built these nations. And for us to lay down and have them taken away from us without ever acknowledging or standing up to it is a sad, sad thing indeed. So, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your police, talk to the military. And for God's sakes, we got to get control of our own local councils. If we can't bring ourselves to stand up and go get our councils, then we really are a pitiful bunch. So I'll leave you with that. Have yourselves a great day. Be sure to tune in to Hal, and we'll be back here Tuesday night. I want to apologize for getting in here late, but I checked everything out before I come to go on air, and I don't know what happened. I hit the button for UCY and got a big error message come across, and my Skype just vaporized. Everybody have a great day. Don't forget the past.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line, lower class and social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, censorship, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids, no one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives.
Thank you.